All right, let's jump into it. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Alexi Edwards. My pronouns are she, her, and I do a lot of work with the TWU. I'm also a worker on the ground as a delivery driver for DoorDash. I also used to do menu log back when it existed, and I did do a brief stint with Uber Eats as well, so I've really played the field in regards to food delivery.
That is part of being a gig worker, isn't it? You sort of just get on every app to get like all the jobs possible. Is that part of it?
It's an interesting question. So in industry, what you're talking about, we call double lapping.
Oh, right.
I know, a bit of a pun, but nothing in our contracts with any of the platforms prohibits it. It's completely allowed. It's just under the expectation that when you're on an order, you're exclusive in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I know I see a lot of Uber drivers driving around, and they've got the little things on the back window, and you'll see they've got Uber, DD, whatever else, the million other ones that exist. Though not so much anymore, given that a lot of them have collapsed recently. And you are part of TWU Gig. Do you want to tell us about that? That's it's like a little sub-union kind of, or like a caucus, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, so TWU Gig is fully part of the TWU, it is Transport Workers Union. The best way I can describe it is as a branch. TWU has each of the state branches. TWU Gig is its own branch under the head office in Sydney, and the reason behind this is we aren't really one workplace.
It's a very different kind of job.
It's a very different kind of job. You can't really have an office for, let's say, I don't know, Woolworths Fortitude Valley, right? So we're all under the one structure, with our dedicated organisers, officials and delegates and such that cover us on a national level, but that doesn't mean that we aren't any less part of the TWU. We're still full members, full benefits, still get the invites to the delegate conferences, still participate in delegations. It's just we acknowledge the reality that it's more difficult to organise us on a workplace by workplace basis.
Do you want to talk about some of the difficulties you face as a delivery driver? It's obviously a tough job. Everyone's talking about how it's a tough job, but you want to give us a glimpse into what that looks like?
I reckon it's one of the more misunderstood jobs, because I often make the mistake of reading the comments section on, any news article about it. So the biggest misunderstanding, I'd say, is what we are. Whether we're employees, whether we're contractors, legally, we're sole traders.
That's something that's changed over the time, especially due to the TWUs taking on various court cases.
Closing loopholes 2024. As of that, we are employee-like contractors. So what that means is we are sole traders, but we have the right to access the Fair Work Commission. And it is through the Fair Work Commission that we've been in the years-long process to get our world first minimum standards order which is to address a lot of the problems we face. Like, the biggest is the pay. Like, we are not paid per hour, we're paid per job. And let's say a 20-minute job takes an hour because KFC's line is backed up. We only get paid for that 20-minute job, which is where the within the minimum standards order, that's where the minimum pay safety net comes in. Like, we get guaranteed $32 per active hour, which is defined as the time we're on a job from acceptance to completion. Other problems with the work is, of course, cost of owning a motor vehicle.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
So, 4ZZZ is Brisbane-based, like me. I'm sure all our listeners are well aware of the fact that the cost of owning a motor vehicle in Queensland is insane. When you're doing 200 kilometres a day in that motor vehicle, your costs just skyrocket, and the platforms don't have to reimburse any of that, so that digs directly into your profits.
Yeah, and when you're not making that much money anyway, that's especially tough.
No, yeah, exactly. We also don't get super guarantee because we are contractors, so we're having... If we plan to retire at all, not that that's going to happen in this economy anyway, if we plan to retire at all, we have to contribute to our own super. There's the fact that we don't have automatic access to work cover. Thankfully, in Queensland, sole traders can opt in to work cover and pay the premiums themselves, but we don't have access to that. What in a normal job you would refer to as HR is just an AI.
Right.
Yeah, but that's something that the closing loopholes legislation, which we really fought for gig economy to be included in, has guaranteed, is that gig economy workers can no longer be sacked without human input. So if an algorithm decides your performance isn't up to scratch, we have won the right to challenge that at Fair Workers unfair dismissal. So, like, there's a lot of difficulties in the sector, but we're also fighting to really patch up those holes, because, you know, the gig economy is unprecedented on a worldwide scale.
Yeah, you mentioned you're classed as employee-like contractors. Is that like a new category that's had to be created? Yeah, I figured from the sound of it.
It is a new category that Fair Work has created. Australia is, when it comes to the digital ecosystem and legislation and governance, like, I dislike the word bureaucracies, but, you know, when it comes to addressing the fact that it's the Wild West out there, pretty much over every sector, Australia is leading the charge, including the gig economy, and that's because we are the only country in the world where the gig economy has said, you know what, we're going to unionise. And, like, the best way to put it is the world's watching, and we're the first country to create a designation to address the fact that these American mega corporations have decided to get around dealing with something as pesky as labour law by calling us partners, contractors, as if we are their equals, when, well, we're not. And so employee-like contractor is the answer to that. Yes, we are independent contractors with a lot more freedom than an employee, but it sure as hell looks a lot like employment.
Yeah, so that classification is something that the TWU had to fight for and win, and this was like a couple years ago, wasn't it? That sort of classification, but we have a much more recent win in the Fair Work Commission recently.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
you wanna
was.
tell us about that?
Okay, so it's called the minimum standards order. It's tempting to compare it to an EBA, but it's very much not. It's basically raising the bar. In the TWU, we have this concept we call the Amazon effect, which is basically where digital platforms are engaging its contractors in a race to the bottom. What the minimum standards order does is raises the bar of what the bottom is. So you will have heard in a lot of news reporting some flashy headline like Uber Eats and DoorDash drivers win 25% pay rise. That's just scratching the surface of what the minimum standards order is. So that component of it is, as I discussed earlier, the $32 per active hour or engaged time minimum. The minimum standards order also wins us rights that at a Woolworths would just be like, assumed.
Yeah.
Things like the right to elect its union delegates and have them paid for training. Something that thus far has been done on an entirely voluntary basis. Where another huge one is if a platform plans to make a major change to its operation, it has to do so in consultation with the Transport Workers Union. So thinking back a few months, Menulog very suddenly closed its doors and left thousands of workers without a job. We were just left. Sure, we got termination pay, but
you're still screwed for the next until you can find something else.
So if let's say Hungry Panda made the decision, they were done, they're pulling out of Australia, they would have to consult the TWU and come up with a exit strategy in consultation with the workers, which is quite frankly an awesome win we've had with this minimum standards order. And what's most important about it is that it's just the beginning. The minimum standards order has been written with the assumption that it will be readdressed. So while there are people not entirely happy with the minimum pay or not entirely happy with things that are missing from it, we're able to then come back in 3 or so years' time and renegotiate with it.
It's sort of one of those situations. It sounds like it's one of those situations where like the TW's like, we think we can get more, but if we take this like now, then people are going to be living way better for these next few years, and then further down the road we can get that more that we want to fight for. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And there's been a lot of discourse in what I'm going to describe as anti-union circles.
Oh yeah.
To be charitable about it. In anti-union circles, there's a bit of discourse about the idea that the TWU didn't fight hard enough. Because we came to a deal with the platforms, which is what unionism is about. Because we came to a deal with the platforms and didn't get everything on the agenda, that we caved or that we gave in, when that's not true. That's just on the agenda for next time as we go stronger. Because the thing about organising is you're only as powerful as the lowest worker in your union. So the more members we recruit, the more we organise, the better the MSO becomes over time.
That leads me to my next question. So if there happen to be any gig economy workers out there listening, obviously joining the TWU sounds like a pretty good deal at the moment just because of how much they're winning for these workers. But other than that, like what do you get as a gig worker joining the TWU? What are the benefits?
To be blunt, legal representation.
That's always a big
Okay,
one.
so there's lots of benefits, obviously. But in my opinion, the biggest is legal representation. Because there's nothing worse than you're just doing your job and then the contract violation message pops up because of a false report, or the quality of a Uber ride or a delivery is subjective. Some people just want to watch the world burn and will give you 1 star because why not? And
those 1 stars, they do actually put your job at risk as well.
As any gig economy worker will tell you, deactivation is arbitrary. It is completely possible to be deactivated for doing the right thing. And for those who aren't part of the gig economy, deactivation is just the tech industry's term for you're fired. So as discussed, because of Closing Loopholes 2024, we are able to take unfair deactivations to Fair Work. TWU members are able to submit their documentation in the TWU portal about an unfair deactivation. One of the union delegates will contact you for the full story, and then the TWU represents you through the legal team in that case with Fair Work. I've actually met the legal team in person and they are awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
Other benefits include the community. We have a massive WhatsApp community where, yes, we use it to organise, but I'd be lying if I said we don't, make friends in the industry along the way.
It's good to be able to connect with people who are doing the same job as you, understand what you're going through, I imagine. Yeah,
and TWU really is solidarity based. Like, when you hear union fees, you think, oh no, there's half my paycheck. The TWU has this thing where other transport workers are actually subsidising the gig branches.
Oh, that's really
fees.
nice.
So our union dues are only $5 a week.
Wow, yeah. That's a really nice act of solidarity there.
Yeah, you get the power of organising. You're able to, if you're having problems on the platform, you're able to go to request contact from a union delegate to get it sorted out. They help you dispute contract violations. They help you through the unfair deactivation process. And we get our monthly member meetings where we're able to bring up issues we're facing, share our wins and everything. And it's good for community, it's good for protection. The same reason you join your union in any job.
Awesome. The gig economy is a sector of the workforce which has a lot of workers, immigrant workers, partially because it is a pretty accessible job. It's not too hard to get a job as an Uber driver. Is that correct?
So, well, just to clarify, Uber or Uber Eats?
Oh, okay. Well, either. Is there a different answer for both?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to give I'll start with food delivery because that's pretty universal in all jurisdictions. That's the one that's famously easy to get into.
Okay.
You upload your driver's license, you complete the police check. Uber charges you for it. DoorDash will do the police check for you.
Oh.
And then you upload either a copy of your Australian passport or your the link to your Vivo check if you're an immigrant, to prove you have work rights. And then you complete the online training and you're through. Rideshare, not so much.
Oh, okay.
So back in the day, yes, rideshare was as easy to get into, but not so much. In fact, Queensland is one of the most difficult states to start rideshare in. So in Queensland, you need something called a DA, a driver's authorization, which is basically, think of it as a taxi license.
Oh, okay. So is this something that, because the taxi industry is complaining about it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So you get your booked hire DA, which is the same as what taxis use, which is a little plastic card saying that TMR have said that the odds of you doing something dodgy on the road are low. You also then need to change your vehicle's registration from a private rego to a commercial booked hire rego.
Oh.
And as you mentioned before, all those stickers on the window, Didi, Uber, Sheba I think is the other one in Australia because Ola pulled out. You also need to put a sticker on your car for every rideshare company you work for.
Oh, those are a requirement. I didn't know that.
Yes. So, yes, it is. Food delivery is an easy one to get into. Rideshare actually has a lot of red tape.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, but I suppose, well, it still applies to part of it at least anyway.
Yes.
So the point is that because of that, you get a lot of people who are in precarious situations who can't really find work elsewhere, and a big part of that are immigrant workers. People have come over, and because of their situation, they're having a very rough go of it, and of course, going into the gig economy, not making it a whole lot easier. So the TWU is helping every gig economy worker, but in particular because of this industry, they're providing a lot of support to immigrant workers, and so I suppose the TWU, what's their stance on that?
The TWU supports all gig workers, and my own view is that it's quite sad that you might be a brilliant doctor in your home country, you do everything right, you get your skilled worker visa, you come to Australia, and then there's some problem with the bureaucracy. The thing is, the median rent in Sydney is what? At least $1,000 a week, right? And you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your bills, you got to pay. You don't have access to Medicare yet, so you got to pay your healthcare. So the gig economy is what keeps a roof over the head in people who are unfortunate enough to have fallen through those cracks. And so, yes, of course, if you're a transport worker, which gig economy are transport workers, then the TWU is going to support you.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So is there anything else you want to talk about before we head off for today?
Yes, if any of this has sounded like an awesome deal to you, and quite frankly, I think it is, and Awesome deal. I may be here representing transport workers today, but I'm not sitting in an air-conditioned ivory tower in Brisbane City. I am on the ground working every day. I work as a delivery driver 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6, like, you know, everyone else. And I can vouch for, this is me speaking as a delivery driver, not as a member of the TWU. I can vouch that it is a good decision. It is good to have that union power. We are stronger together. And so it's only $5 a week. If you want to join the TWU, honestly, just Google TWU Gig Australia and you'll find the join link. And yeah, just as a heads up, if you're joining on mobile, make sure to scroll down on the form and not the page, because otherwise you might accidentally join your local chapter instead of Gig. But definitely join. It's out there on the internet, and if you have questions before you join, you can on the website request to be contacted by someone from the TWU to answer any questions before you make that commitment.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been really fun to talk about this. It's a very important part of the union movement today, and helping improve the lives of some of the workers in the toughest situations. So yeah, thank you, and thanks for the work you do as part of the TWU to help them bring about those changes.
Thank you.